Hello everybody and welcome to Dynamic GT League's special Fork Up. Today is from the Monza Grand Prix circuit for race 3 of 9, and it's going to be an interesting one. Let's take a quick look at the current championship standings after 2 races, and the VWs have had 2 wins. Leading the championship is Steve F1 on 35 points, and he's 5 points ahead of SGP, who's sitting in 2nd place. In 3rd we've got Tyler on 27 points, and he's 1 ahead of Demon R in 4th place. Mitch sits in 5th on 23 points, and not too far behind him we've got Formula Gary and SRI, both with 17 points, sharing 6th place. Dave Harp sits in 8th on 13 points, with Rich Blues right behind him in 9th place, and Conrad right behind Rich in 10th. In 11th we've got Jason, Twilight and Hay, all with 9 points, and then in 14th place we have Fluffy Planet on 8 points, Jimmy's in 15th on 7 points, and Butzel in 16th on 2 points. Groover hasn't raced as a reserve yet, so still on 0 points. Right, let's take a look at the qualifying result for this event, and once again Steve F1 sitting on pole position with a 2:01.4, fantastic time for him. Tyler joins him on the front row. On row 2 once again we've got SGP alongside SRI, and starting 5th we have Demon R, and Jason starts alongside him on row 3. On row 4 we've got Rich Blues starting in 7th place. He'll be alongside Dave the Harp in 8th, and then it gets very tight on the times. Fluffy Planet with a 2:03.959, Conrad an 0:03.967, and Twilight with an 0:49.01. Very close indeed. Hay will join Twilight on row 6. On row 7 we've got Bunsel in 13th, and we've got a couple of drivers away today, but that's not going to take away from any potential action around the Monza Grand Prix circuit. So it's time to check out the action. And joining me on commentary this week is Gary. He's not on the grid because he's in the commentary box. How are you, Gary?
I'm good. I've just put down my hammer to do a bit of commentary for today.
I don't want to know what you've been doing with that hammer. Either way, Steve F1 with his VW is sitting on pole position once again here at Monza. But as we know, the VWs, they're not great off the line, but that Subaru is. SRI storming straight into the lead of the race, and Rich Blues in the other Subaru looks like he's going to get himself into 2nd.
Yeah, another fantastic start from the Subarus, and look where Rich is, P2, SRI P1. Great start for the Subarus.
And as you say, that Rich nearly kills SRI, but that's allowed Tyler, last week's race winner at Suzuka, to close in on Rich. But as SRI is showing, the Subaru has got the pace to run away from those VWs, and that looks like Dave the Harp in the background battling a little bit with SGP as Tyler's going to the outside for the chicane.
And here comes Steve F1 putting a bit of pressure on, is it Rich Blues?
It is,
and it looks like, yeah, he's going around the outside.
Interesting. Rich couldn't defend Tyler there, but he manages to hold off Steve F1. I'm sure they're meant to be family, but from the hand signals, I think I've just seen Steve F1 waving. He wasn't waving. That's put SGP on the back of the both of them now as they make their way down towards the second Degner, Lesmo, whichever one it's called. I can never remember. Oh, SGP nearly lost it. I'd be surprised though if we do see a Volkswagen spinning here, Gary.
Yeah, won't surprise me. Well, more so with Toyota. Toyota's usually a bit light on the rear end.
That day, I'll tell you what, Tyler's caught right up to SRI, and Steve F1's managed to get up alongside Rich. Rich has gone wide into Ascari. I think he's in the gravel. He may have to be careful as he returns to the track. He's sitting in 5th at the moment. Oh, but Davey Harp's coming past him.
Yeah, Dave Harp giving him a bit of a nudge there, and here's SGP closing up on Steve F1 now.
Yeah, that he is. He's having a look up the inside into the Parabolica. Tyler having a look up the inside of SRI into the Parabolica. Now, interestingly, Gary, right, the VWs hate this final corner because they simply can't get the power down.
Yeah,
when did you have children?
They're a little bit understeering.
What, the children?
They're real different. Tell them to shut the fuck up outside.
Tyler going for the move then. The VW has got good straight line speed, but yeah, as you mentioned, they are a little bit understeery. But SRI in that Subaru, we'll see if he's got anything to fight back against Tyler with. SGP has just managed to slip ahead of Steve F1 and Rich, still holding his own. Oh, as Dave the Harp gets a little bit sideways.
Yeah, and Conrad's going to take advantage of that, but they go side by side. Who's going to take advantage here? And then Fluffy's coming into play as well now.
Yeah, that he is, and also Demonar and Twilight and Bunsel in the background. So Connor's managed to get ahead of Dave the Harp. That's good for them. But what's going to happen behind them is Bunsel looking behind Twilight. Twilight's coming in hot. He's going out hot. Oh no, he's going out cold.
Yeah, I think that's probably reset. Oh, and that's someone off. Was that? Yeah, that's Dave the Harp in the gravel.
Yeah, I think Twilight got reset, but I think Bunsel unfortunately may have tagged Dave the Harp there. I don't know if it was put off by what Twilight was doing, but yeah, unfortunate for Dave the Harp there, as SRI is still all over the back of Tyler. I should mention as well, Gary, in case you don't know, for the tyre wear and fuel usage situation at Monza, it's a very interesting one. As SRI having a look up the inside into Ascari, is he? No, Tyler closes the door. Closes the door, and they both use a lot of curb there.
Yeah, just SRI showing Tyler that he's not giving this place up lightly, and he's going to get the toe on the straight here and see if he can come back on him.
He is. I mean, interestingly, I think the best place SRI could try and attack would be into the second chicane. Get close into the first chicane. The Subaru's got better acceleration out of the first chicane, overtake into the second chicane, and then he's got the rest of the lap to try and pull away if he can. As SGP and Steve F1 take a very wide line around the final corner, as they're now closing in on the back of SRI as well. We are talking about tyres. Tyres should be absolutely fine for everybody, unless you're in a VW. The fronts are going to die on you. Fuel, though, I don't think anyone's going to be doing a one-stop, let's put it that way. It's such high speed around this track that the burn on fuel is so great. And if you try and save fuel, you go so slow. Oh my goodness me, look at that pack. That's mental.
Yeah, I noticed the first front four have pulled a bit of a gap now to the pack, but the pack's as mental as usual. And here's Fluffy's closing up on Conrad now, see what he can do.
Yeah, Alfa Romeo versus Toyota behind Subaru, with a VW behind them that's lagging about a little bit by the looks of it, with Jason and Bunsel having a look up the inside. I don't think he's going to make that. Oh, I think Fluffy's took evasive. I think Rich took evasive as well.
Yeah, I think Rich has killed a marshal with the orange follow.
That he has. I don't know if Bunsel got reset there, or I'm not sure exactly what happened. I couldn't tell with the camera angle that we had, but it definitely looked like he was going in a little bit hot up the inside. Yeah, so Fluffy's managed to get ahead of Connor. I don't know if it was necessarily a fair overtake, because it was all a bit carnage there. But I mean, Monza though, Gary, it's one of those tracks where it's such high speed that, oh, I was going to say anything can happen. It definitely looks like Jason's lagging about a bit there.
Yeah, it looks like he's moving side to side. Yeah, a bit of a poor connection from Jason, so unfortunately.
Oh, Bunsel up the inside of Rich Blues. A little bit of door banging between the two of them. I think Rich Blues is about to repay the favour though. Oh no, off they go. I don't know if he got nudged from behind.
Yeah, I think he got a bit of a double whammy there. I think he was holding on. The Subaru's usually pretty solid and getting a smack, but he's had a double smack there, and unfortunately she's put him in the gravel.
You know what I'm hearing from my assistant, that apparently Hay cannot see Jason. So the reason Jason was twitching about a bit may have been because he was a little bit too close to Hay, but Hay can't actually see him. And I'm also hearing that SRI can't see Hay on the timing tower, but what he can see is SGP attacking him down in towards the first chicane. The VW with a better straight line speed gets the move done, but SRI with a better brake says, nah, sod off, support the NHS and get back behind me.
Yeah, I'm really pleased for SRI. He's found a nice balance with this car, and he's really paying off for him for the last couple of races. He's right up there.
Yeah, that he is. I can imagine it's quite painful for you though, Gary, watching him do that, because yeah, you should be in the Subaru as well.
Yes, I had a bit of a private practice session myself in the week, and then I realised, oh shit, it's the missus' birthday, so I best take her out.
Yeah.
So yeah, missing one of the races where I could have really got a good finish, but never mind.
You could have dumped her for the day. But I'm just glad that by taking her out didn't mean like smacking her over the head and burying her in the garden. That would not that would be the wrong kind of I'm taking you out, love. Oh, fantastic. It'd be one way to be able to race though. Interestingly though, this battle up at the front, you mentioned the gap, and the gap is now to Jason. With the pace that these guys are going up at the front, there is no way in a million years they're doing a one-stop strategy. They will be burning through their fuel way too fast. And as I was saying, if you try and save fuel around here, you end up going so slow that you don't benefit from saving fuel. You might as well just absolutely go for it, burn the fuel, do the extra pit stop.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting here, because I don't know if Steve F1 is going to attack SGP or is actually trying to save fuel and hold back. So it's interesting you say that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, it is an interesting situation, especially with them having the gap behind, because they're not under attack, so it's an interesting situation. Is SGP going for the pits? Yes, he is. Right, okay, so that's definitely a two-stop strategy then. There's no way he's getting to the end from here. Okay, Connor having a look at him, going down the main straight. He's going to now take 4th place. He's got Jason right behind him. That VW is so strong in a straight line. Now Connor can see Jason, so we'll see how they battle down into turn 1. Is it going to be a battle though? As yeah, Jason manages to just slot ahead. Now where is SGP? SGP's behind all this lot. Yeah.
Yes, unfortunately he's going to have to work. Oh, it looks like Richie's just had a bit of a moment.
Yeah. I think he's getting a bit old and he's had a moment. Talking about getting old, right? A wise man once said, you should treat your women the way you treat your vacuum cleaner. When it stops sucking, change the bag.
That's quite a good one, actually.
Steve F1 taking the position off SRI. There's a nice move from Steve F1. Is he going defensive or wiggling?
Yeah, it looks like he's gone a little bit defensive there, but now he's going to put the hammer down and see if he can pull away and catch Tyler up.
Yeah, I mean, if he was saving any fuel, now would be the time to use it, because SGP, with his pitting now, Steve F1's going to have no idea what position he's in or what the gap is, and he can't afford to let Tyler run away, because with Tyler winning the last race, it's brought him into play potentially for the championship and for future race wins. What we've got here though is an interesting battle. Behind Twilight there is SGP, but he's behind Bunsell and Rich Blues, who are side by side into Ascari. Dave the Harp there as well, battling with Fluffy. So SGP's pitted, the guys around him haven't. He's in a bit of a dangerous situation, but he should have the straight line speed.
Yeah, luckily a couple of people went wide there, so it looks like SGP's got a couple of easy moves there.
Yeah, definitely.
Just helped him out massively.
I think Connor's just had a bit of a lock up into the final corner. May have been caught out a bit by how much Jason was having to slow down, because with, as we've already mentioned, in that VW, the understeer around the final corner is absolutely terrifying. So yeah, the braking distances are very different, as that looks like Bunsell heading into the pit lane. I couldn't see how much fuel Bunsell had on board, but SGP had 55% when he pitted, after 8 minutes.
And there's SGP now pulling a move on Rich. He's coming through the pack quite quickly now. SGP is no messing around. He's going to try and catch up Combat as soon as he can now. He's going to go. What we got here?
Well, I'm just looking at Rich here. I mean, Rich is doing very well. I mean, he's right in the thick of it here. That's nothing against Fluffy or Dave the Op. I'm not calling them thick. I just mean he's right in the middle of all the action, and he's coping well so far, which means I've just cursed him, surely.
Yeah, he's in a nice sandwich now. Who's going to get the position?
Is it a Jamaican sandwich? Oh, yeah. Fluffy! I think Fluffy's just got hit off by Demon R. It looks like, yeah, Demon R's trying to wait for Fluffy, and Hay was trying to bump draft Fluffy. Yeah, Demon R definitely waiting. So yeah, Fluffy ended up in the gravel. Not for building sandcastles though. Rich Blues behind Dave Harp. And interestingly, I mean, with Rich, he's a little bit like yourself at the moment, Gary, where he's not really getting the chance to do a lot of practice. So he can't quite maximise what the Subaru can do. As he gets on the grass, but the Subaru can handle that.
Yeah, I'm hoping that's going to change, hopefully moving in the next week or two, so hopefully that'll change and I'll be able to start getting some serious practice in on this car and see what it can actually do.
Yeah, definitely. So Rich Blues still putting the pressure on Dave the Harp then. I never thought I'd see a Jamaican hunting down a Liverpudlian, but here we go, it's happening. Although Rich isn't actually Jamaican, he just wants to be.
And he's going to take the move.
Is he? You see, this is where Rich needs to be confident. Put his foot down. Go for it. The Subaru's got the acceleration. Getting that VW slipstream as Conrad from 5th place heads into the pits, and so does Fluffy. So Connor going for an early-ish pit stop as well. Interesting, very interesting, but surprisingly as well, Demon Art right in the back of this pack. He's not got ahead of these guys at any point, so I don't think he's having a look up the inside of Dave the Arp, is he? No, not quite. He's perhaps taking evasive there more than anything.
Yeah, he's just showing Dave that his air is hazing into play now as well. Anyone makes a mistake, they're going to take the advantage here.
Yeah, well, sometimes that's the way you have to play it. Try and make the car ahead, make a mistake, and then if they do, take full advantage of that. As Demon Art got a decent run on Dave the Harp, but Dave going defensive into the second chicane. It's going to be compromised on the way in, potentially on the way out. Both using plenty of curb. Oh, Dave the Harp got a little bit twitchy. That's going to give Demon Art a run up the inside. How's he going to go?
Yeah, I'd say Demon Art's got the move done here. Yeah.
Ooh, that he has. He got twitchy on the mid corner as well, and Dave the Arp's actually fighting back. He's up the inside into the second of the right-handers, and now Demon Art going for another switchback as Dave the Arp dips a wheel in the grass. A fantastic battle there.
Yeah, great racing, side by side. Big awareness from both drivers there. Great to see.
Yeah, definitely. Now I think Demon Art's trying to tuck into Rich Blues' slipstream there, and the Subaru does create a big slipstream gap behind it, seeing as it's so much bigger than all the other cars. But this is an interesting situation. I don't know if these guys have pitted or anything like that, but what, 14 minutes into the race, I would expect people to start pitting. Oh, SRI, where's he going? Oh no, he does not want to be over there.
Oh dear, that's unfortunate for SRI. He's either had brake fail or brain failure there. Unlucky, mate.
He may have he's probably just done both. Either that, he was having a beer down the back straight. Tyler into the pits then. He had 20% of fuel left, so he could have gone another lap, but that means that's strategic. SRI had 16% of fuel left, and he's now in the pits, but he's going to have lost quite a bit of time. SGP is going to be ahead of both SRI and Tyler, but obviously he pitted, what, 6-7 minutes ago?
Yeah. So here comes SGP now, and he's not messing about. He wants to get right up there.
Interesting, Tyler's ahead of SGP, so that would show then that SGP has been held up massively in the pack, because normally with a 7-minute undercut, SGP should be miles up the road.
Yeah, you say that, but when he was in the pack, it looked like he was coming fairly quick, or less a situation arose there. I don't know.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, Steve F1, I think he may have been saving a little bit of fuel earlier on, because he's now got into the 2 minute 1 seconds as Demon Art's getting a bit wobbly in the background there, as Conrad is as well through the chicane, and Bunsell also through there. Twilight coming through. Fluffy coming through there, a bit bumpy over the curbs as well. This is an interesting situation though, and I am hearing as well that Demon Art has already made a pit stop, so he's kind of in sequence with SGP and Tyler at the moment, but I don't think the Toyota can keep up with the VWs here.
We'll soon find out. What we've got here, we've got SGP on the back of Tyler now.
And interestingly as well, with SRI, he wasn't that far away from Tyler, as SGP is getting right up his rear wing. But yeah, because SRI binned it at the final corner, he's now right at the back of the pack. So absolute disaster for SRI with that situation. But interestingly for these guys, I mean, it's one thing racing against a different make of car, but if you're racing against the same make of car, then they're going to do the same top speed.
Yeah, so what you've got to do in this situation is find out their weaknesses, put them under pressure, make them make a mistake, and hopefully that'll be your chance to overtake them. And this is what's happening now for SGP. Is he going for it?
He is. Can he do it? Place your bets now. interestingly as well, oh, it's just, sorry, I saw a car ahead and I thought it was Steve F1, as SGP does get the move done. I like that. Tyler realised there was no way of fighting that on the way into the corner, but he's got a decent run on the way out, and these guys are closing in to Jason. I thought it was Steve F1. Steve F1 has not pitted yet, neither has Jason, but these guys are catching up to Jason quite rapidly as Tyler's going for the move. Can he do it? SGP is going to have the inside line. He's going to be able to dictate where he brakes, but he's going to be able to get it slowed down in time. Yes, he is. Nice bit of driving.
Yeah, great racing from these two.
Ooh, Tyler's trying to have another look on at the exit of the corner. It is an interesting battle watching this. I mean, it's good to see that Tyler is really putting some pressure on the likes of SGP and Steve F1, because it would appear the Toyotas aren't able to do it, as I mentioned, or the Alphas at the moment. And unfortunately, I mean, this is another race where the likes of Gary and Jimmy weren't able to race, so a couple of other Subarus that weren't on the track. But yeah, it is good that Tyler is really in there on pace.
Yeah, because last season SGP was just walking away with it, and now it's nice to see that he's getting a fair challenge.
Ooh, that he is. It looked like Twilight was turning in there as Bunsell was already there, and that's put Twilight into the gravel. Conrod's got a bit of a run on Bunsell now. I mean, one of the features of the Toyotas, I'm sure you know, Gary, is pretty much all of these cars can take a bit of a bump apart from the Toyota. You look at it wrong and it's going to spin as Steve F1 into the pits.
Yeah, the Toyota's got a very loose rear end.
Interestingly, Steve F1, the amount of fuel he's got left, even if he was fuel saving at some point, he can't get to the end. There's no way he can make it because he's not got halfway through. What's going to be interesting now, though, whether he's filled up his tank. No, he can't have done because he's come out miles ahead.
No, he's only put 61 litres in, what I saw on the timing tower there.
Ooh.
So he's going for a short run. Oh, what's happened here? Steve F1, cold tyres.
Could be, I think he was going for a short run and a short cut. He'd be lucky if that hasn't reset him. It hasn't reset him, but it has put Tyler right up his arse. However, I think you may be right with the fuel. I think he's gone for a short stint, so basically realising, yeah, it's probably not going to get to the end. He's not gone for a full tank. He's put enough fuel in to get him so far as Bunsell all over the back of SRI alongside Fluffy. This could get messy.
Yeah, and that advantage what Steve would have had with the short pit stop, obviously he's lost that with making mistake. So it's a bit of a shame there, but now he's going to have to bring a gap. Oh, here we go. Oh, Fluffy, what's happened? Oh, Bunsell.
I think Fluffy got a bit too sideways there and may have taken Bunsell with him, unless it was the other way round. Something to remember though, my assistant told me earlier on that SRI is one of the two drivers that can't see Jason on track at the moment. So although everybody else can see Jason, SRI can't at the moment, and that means as well that Jason can't see SRI or Hay. So things could get a little bit interesting. Oh, yeah.
Just the two drivers, you say there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's Hay and SRI. Unfortunately, can't see Jason, and Jason can't see SRI or Hay, but they can see everybody else. So we can see Jason making a move around the outside of Dave the Harp, but now driving straight through SRI. That's not it's not an overtake. That's an undertake.
I've never seen a car end there like that before. Fantastic.
I wonder if SRI knows he's just been violated. Fantastic battle going on here for the lead of the race. I think Steve F1's put himself under a bit of a pressure, you know, after that mistake coming out of the pits. Tyler's going to try and take full advantage of it. Yes, he is more confident on his tyres and probably actually got a much lower fuel load because Tyler pitted some time ago. So this is interesting that Tyler and SGP, I have no idea how much fuel they've got in their cars. As this is getting interesting. Coming through the first chicane, we've got Jason, Conrad, Dave the Harp, SRI, Twilight, and then Hay, all battling it out towards the Aqua Minerale.
Yeah, the best thing for SRI and Hay can do is obviously follow where Conrad positions his car next to Jason, so they've got sort of a reference point where Jason is.
Aye, that they can. I must admit, I do love watching cars go through that chicane when it's done properly. It looks absolutely fantastic. Is that, hey, having a look at the attacking SRI? It was, but you're not going to do that in an Alpha on a Scooby on the way into a corner. Jason, though, coming under a lot of pressure now from Connor. And then Connor unfortunately had an absolute disaster of a race last week. Pretty much every time I saw him he was spinning around, or about to spin around, but seems like he's doing much better here in Monza.
Yeah, I think he's through that Kylie Minogue CD in the bin and that's it. There's no messing about now.
Yeah, so still putting the pressure on Jason, and in the background Twilight was trying to put the pressure on Dave the Harp. Connor's got a decent run here on the back of Jason. He may be too close actually, but if he can just hug the rear bumper until the final corner, or maybe even into turn one, and concentrate on getting the exit, as it looks like Steve F1 has got a run on the back of Tyler. This is, I've got to say, this is absolutely fantastic stuff. We're just over halfway through the race, and I've barely been able to stop talking.
Yeah, with Steve obviously going off on the previous laps, probably dirty his tyres, but now he's cleaned his tyres up. That's it. There's no messing about now. And the move is done. Yeah,
he's much more confident on his brakes now. Interestingly as well, Demonara has just gone into the pits from 4th place, and he had 20-something% of fuel left, as we see Bunsell and Twilight going side by side into turn 1. Looks like Bunsell may have gone a bit deep over the curb. Oh, Twilight's gone wide and into the gravel. Rich taking evasive. Oh, and I think Hayes just sped Twilight up there. A bit difficult to see exactly what happened there, but yeah.
Yeah, it looked like Bunsell did give Twilight a bit of a clip into the gravel there from what I saw, but soon find out at the end of the race if there's any reports being put in.
That we will. SRI having a look at attacking Twilight. No, sorry, it's Twilight coming back through, trying to. Oh, he's gone a bit deep though. That's through the chicane. He's going to have to give that position back up, and he does so. So even if Twilight is a little bit frustrated at the moment, he's realised that was an unfair overtake and gives the position back. That's great to see, as SGP now all over the back of Tyler. But yeah, I was mentioning about Demon R pitted from 4th place, and he had 22% of fuel left, so he could have kept going, but I think he's realised if he fills up his tank now, we can get to the end. So we'll have to see how he gets on. It'd be interesting as well to see when SGP and Tyler are going to need to make their next stops, because we know Steve F1's got to stop again. So this is absolutely blowing my mind at the minute. I don't know what the bloody hell is going to happen.
Yeah, I don't know about blowing your mind, but about blowing your load. This is probably the best freeway I've ever seen in my life.
Oh, I don't. No, I've seen better. This content is not for children. So yeah, interesting battle going on here, as Tyler, he can't quite keep up with the back of Steve F1 at the moment, but I think he's going for the pits. Yes, he is, and SGP follows him in. It's interesting. SGP, Tyler's got loads of fuel.
Yeah, I think that's a bit of a mistake there from Tyler. I think he should have kept on going. I really should.
Possibly. I mean, SGP probably had to pit at that point. Now, interestingly, all these cars coming into the pits now, that's going to help out Demon R massively, who pitted last time around. So he's now basically caught the pack up, and everyone's moved, and he's in P5. P6, because Tyler's coming out to the pits just ahead of him. Can Demon R get the move done down into turn 1? Yes, he can. So Demon R, pitting a lap early, has actually got the jump on Tyler. Tyler's battling for the lead of the race. This could now become a 4-way battle. SGP comes out of the pits quite a long way behind. I think he may have taken tyres, or I don't know, maybe just had an absolute. No, he had a lot more fuel to put in. So I know you said Tyler may have made a mistake, but he would have had a much shorter pit stop because he already had 44% of fuel in the tank.
Yeah, it could have been a very good strategy there for Tyler. I probably need to take my words what I said back on that one, I think.
I'd wait till the end of the race, we'll see what happens. Dave the Arp attacking Conrad. I've seen Dave the Arp make moves in this chicane before many times. He does like trying it, but I don't think he's fully happy with the pace ability of the Alpha. Its handling is phenomenal. Its straight line speed is where it gets let down a little bit, but you'll never see it as twitchy as a Toyota. I thought he was going to twitch it then. But yeah, fascinating stuff. So Demon R just ahead then of Tyler, and and SGP right there as well. This is fascinating stuff. So the Demon R's really got himself back into this fight. Tyler's going for the move. He's on the outside though of Ascari. You do not want to be going around there in the VW. It will just understeer wide. But has he managed to get Demon R out of position enough to get a decent run? Yeah, Demon R gone wide. Tyler will get this done into the final corner, I reckon.
Yeah, I think if Tyler's just patient now, just gets in the slipstream, or it's going to suck Demon R off well and truly.
Yeah, he's done him a good one there into before the corner, although he's on the outside. And again, the VW likes to understeer. Oh, it's a fantastic battle, but the Toyota's a little bit twitchy. As Jason, he's gone into the pits. SRI also into the pits. Demon R trying to get into Tyler's slipstream, but SGP is already making the move on him.
Wow, SGP had a great run out that last corner there.
That he did. Rich Blues, by the way, sitting in second place at the moment. Steve F1 hasn't pitted for his second stop yet, as SGP and Tyler kind of going side by side-ish. But I think they realise that if they fight too much, Steve F1 could run away, because when Steve F1 does do his last pit stop, it'll be a short one. If we get to 30 minutes in, he's only going to need about 55-60% worth of fuel.
Yeah, I would say so. It's SGP all over the back of Tyler now.
Yeah, Tyler going defensive. He's going to be able to hold him off. Oh, yeah. Oh, he's going in there a bit quick, isn't he?
This is great racing, or just what you want to see in the DGT League. Fantastic racing.
I'm waiting for the crash now.
Well, just quick get that in.
Oh, Tyler's gone a bit wide. So these guys have caught up to Rich Blues, who I think still has another pit stop to do. I mentioned earlier on that Rich and Steve sort of bonded by familia, as they would say in Italy, badly. Maybe Rich Blues is going to try and hold these guys up a little bit to help out Steve F1, but to be fair, I think Tyler is already ahead of him. So Rich Blues defending but not getting in the way, so to speak. But at the end of the day, he's legitimately in that position and can pretty much defend as much as he wants.
Yeah, fair play there, Rich. Just make it as difficult as you can for these guys behind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, sometimes you just have to work at things and hit the gym, pound those weights to really get the strength up, so when it comes to the fight, you're ready for it. If you're waiting for a pun, there isn't one, don't worry.
Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, there's no pun. There's no punchline.
I thought it was one of these shitty jokes together.
No, come on now. I don't know if that was SRI nudging Bunsell or Bunsell nudging Hay. I couldn't quite tell. I was too busy gloating at not giving it. Oh yeah, Rich Blues is in to the pits. Okay, interesting stuff. So he's going to come out somewhere at the back of this pack. But it depends. If he makes the mistake of putting too much fuel in, he'll come back out a long way back. This could get interesting. Hay up the inside. Oh no, he's made a mistake there. Oh, Jason and Fluffy have followed him. I think Hay may have realised he was making a bit too much of a mistake there and took evasive big time. Oh, actually no, he may have taken Connor with him. I'm not entirely sure, because I think I just saw Connor appearing in the bottom of the screen. But yeah.
Three of them was reset there from the looks of it. That's unfortunate.
Yeah, massively unfortunate as SRI trying to attack Bunsell. And in the Subaru, that's where really you'd like to have the confidence to be able to go, yeah, this car can do it on the brakes, but the Toyota's actually pretty good on the brakes. SRI, though, now has nowhere to go, because side by side they are in front of him, and now side by side he is with the slipstream behind Dave the Ark. Give him a bump draft, Ray, you'll be fine. Ooh, great stuff. Ooh, maybe not.
Ooh, I think that was fair enough. I think that was fair enough. Nice bit of side by side racing there, but nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No wrong. Oh, interesting situation here now. David Hart going defensive into Ascari. Jason closing in rapidly. Remember though, SRI cannot see Jason. Oh, I think it looked like SRI went to turn in and clip the side of David Hart. Steve F1 heads into the pits. Yeah, he's only got 4% of fuel in the car, but he's only going to need to put about 50-55% of fuel in the car. Can he come out anywhere near these guys? If he comes out right behind these, he's on for the win here.
Yeah, let's see where Steve F1 comes out.
Oh, he's ahead. He's miles ahead. 56% of fuel, I saw. But yeah, he is an absolute, mile ahead. Wow.
obviously Steve F1 just needs to be careful from his last pit stop.
What happens when you join a Scot and a Swede? This. This. Whatever's going to happen here. Because these two can't see each other. SRI can see Dave the Arp. Dave the Arp can see Jason. Fascinating situation here as SRI makes the move on Dave the Arp. And repays the favour on Jason from earlier on.
Yeah, and SRI just drives straight through him. He's like, I'm going straight through you, mate, even though I can't see you.
I think Jason might be thinking, well, he's not thinking, he won't know out about it, but I think he's going to be doing exactly the same thing. Oh, here we go, bit of drifting around Monza.
Yeah, these two are super glued together. I don't know what's going on there.
It's great side-by-side racing.
Well, there's Dave the Arp, he's done the move on Fluffy. Nice little move.
That he has, and here comes Twilight with Bunsell having a look up the inside. Bunsell manages to get... Oh, he got the move on Twilight, but then collected the side of Fluffy. That may have compromised Twilight as well there, as, yeah, these two still battling away. They don't know it, but they are. I've got to say, actually, considering they can't see each other, they're actually driving quite well.
Yeah, I bet Ray's thinking, what the bloody hell's going off my steering? He's tracking out to it. He's down off pulling.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, it's a shame that this is happening, and I will comment about it after the race. But yeah, David Hart is closing. I mean, this is the thing. It's very difficult for the likes of David Hart, all these guys behind that can see both SRI and Jason. So they're racing against both of them, but because the others go, interesting. Rich, Bunsell, Dave the Arp, Fluffy, who's got it?
3 wide forward.
Oh, Fluffy's gone deep. He's gone. He's into the gravel.
Yeah, I know. So it looks like we're just going to get a nice drive out this corner past Bunsell.
Not so sure. I think Bunsell's got the slipstream. Well, Bunsell actually looked like he went to make the move on Dave the Arp, but unfortunately Rich was there. Sometimes it is easy to not see the car that's next to you, although when it's as big as a Subaru you should easily see it. Can everybody get through here cleanly? The Subaru and the VW, yeah, they're doing their own dance. Everyone else looks like they just about got through there. It does get tight when you're side by side through the first chicane, but it can be done. Got to say though, Steve F1, he's nailed his strategy here. Either that or he's nailed his strategist.
Fair play, I hope she's fit.
But yeah, he's got it absolutely spot on here. I mean, Tyler and SGP look like they're on the pace, but Steve F1 has just pulled one out of the bag. SRI has managed to now pull away a little bit from Jason, and he kind of needs to do that just to give himself a breather. Oh, he's going wide. Oh, careful. Oh, collects Fluffy. And off he goes. Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate. I mean, sometimes when you dip a wheel off, you could end up going absolutely anywhere. I don't think he would have chosen to return there, but yeah, that's the way it goes sometimes. Is it still getting a bit frantic down towards Ascari? It's Dave Hart, Bunsell, I think that's Twilight in the middle, or Twilight backs out of it. Dave the Hart, he's taken a very tight, I think he's trying to close the door on Bunsell there, I'm not entirely sure, but now Twilight's all over the back of Bunsell. Bunsell twitchy, that'll give Rich Blues the run, and Twilight's ended up wide, didn't see exactly what happened there, but Connor has managed to survive it. This is absolutely mental.
Great racing. Let's see if Rich can pull the move off on Bunsell, but looks like he's got someone ahead. Is that Dave the Arp?
Yeah. It is, yeah. I mean, interesting. Rich Blues has been taking that very tight line into the final corner. Oh, Connor's spun it. I think he's dipped a wheel on the Astra there. But yeah, Rich has taken that tight line. The thing is, in the Subaru, you really can take that tight line. And basically, it's a way of making sure that nobody is up the inside of him. The problem is it compromises your exit speed, so he's not maximising his straight line speed, because really, that Subaru should be ahead of all of these three here. As is David Harp stopping? No, he's going way deep. Yeah, he's gone to see if Ericsson's all right.
Yeah, either that or he's gone to say hello to the fans.
Yeah, they shouldn't be there. Social distancing, folks.
Yeah. Good cardboard cutouts if they are.
That's true. You see what they've been doing in baseball in America. The baseball players have been, like, when they catch the ball and they give it to the crowd, what they've been doing is they've been finding the cardboard cutouts of kids and throwing the ball to that, and then the ball gets sent to the kid.
Oh, fair play.
Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. Okay, Rich Blues trying to make a move. Twilight, I think, was I don't know if he's going defensive or getting his elbows out. Oh, Rich Blues! Oh, there's a little bit of a heavy nudge on Twilight, and that sent Twilight around as SRI and Jason still stuck side by side. I think these two need to get a room.
I think they need to change the sponsorship to no names.
Yeah, definitely could well possibly do that. But yeah, I mean, I do think Rich may not realise that he did nerf Twilight off a little bit there. Well, not a little bit, he's ended up in the gravel and spun around. But SRI battling Jason, even though he can't see him. I tell you what though, Gary, we're into the last 3 minutes of this race. It's absolutely flown by.
It sure has, and it's always nice and close knit in the pack as usual at the end, nice and mental.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what we like.
Dave the Arp trying to make the move on Rich Blues into the final corner. Bunsell having a bit of a look at Fluffy, but can't quite. Oh yeah, he can get that move done as Rich Blues is taking the very outside line on this occasion. Bunsell's getting bum drafted. Is he? No, he's into the pits. I'm wondering if he didn't have enough fuel.
Well, that's unfortunate there for Bunsell. That's going to put him to the back.
That it is. I mean, to be fair though, last week he ran out of fuel, so it will look, I'm sure, play on his mind as to make sure that he's not running out of fuel on this occasion. Dave the Harp trying to attack Jason, manages to just about get the move done. Jason fighting back, trying to leave him space on the exit of the corner. That's compromised them both, and here goes Fluffy around the outside as they head to Curva Grande.
Yeah, Fluffy's like, I'm going to make it 3 wise.
He saw a gap and he went for it. That's what he did. But Jason and Dave the Arp have managed to get back ahead of him. But this could compromise. Oh, Connor, where you going? Be careful up the inside there as Jason trying to make the move. He's through. Dave and Fluffy side by side. Connor and Rich side by side. That's fairly decent bloody racing. That is, guys. Well done.
Yeah, Dave the Arp doing the move again on Fluffy through there. It's one of his favourite corners, that one.
That it is. Having a look then back at the leaders. You know what? I think the next lap is going to be the last lap, Gary. So Steve F1 still got a massive lead over Tyler SGP and then Demon R. And then there's a big gap back to SRI, who has now freed himself from the clutches of Jason. But then we've got Dave the Harp and Fluffy and Alphas with Conrad right behind them in a Toyota, and Rich there in the Subaru as well as they head into Ascari. Is Fluffy gone deep? No, he's made the move.
Yeah, that's a good move there from Fluffy.
Oh, that's not. That's unlucky, that is. Conrad, though, giving Dave the Arp a bit of a bump draft as they head towards the Parabolica for the second to last time. Rich now getting involved in that as well. You know, Bunsell's going to do a bit of bump drafting, is what he likes to do. Fluffy up the inside of Connor. Oh, and I think Fluffy just got nudged by, I think it may have been Bunsell, and that's ricocheted Connor. That's a disaster for Connor.
Yeah, I think someone really needs to take that USB out of his CD player.
Dave the Arp is in the pits. Go on, say your bad joke.
I'm just saying, that Kylie McLeod song is just going to haunt him.
Yeah.
The last couple of races, so unlucky, unfortunately.
Yeah, Dave the Arp unlucky as well, realising he didn't have enough fuel for the final lap, so he's had to go for a splash and dash. That could be absolutely costly. He was in about 7th place when he went into the pits, and we are now on to the last lap of the race. So yeah, this could be absolutely frantic. And talk about frantic, I was at the gym last night when I noticed a hole in my trainer, just big enough to get my finger in. Anyway, she's made a formal complaint now, and I'm banned.
Fucking hell. Jesus. Can't get much lower than that, can you? But
no. Oh, dude. I like that one. So we've got Rich Blues attacking Fluffy here. I'm liking this. Rich is really getting to grip. He's enjoying driving this Subaru because it is a bit more friendly for him to be able to just jump in and go. As Fluffy trying to attack Jason, and Bunsell bump drafting Rich Blues. didn't think I'd see Toyota bump drafting a Subaru, but there we go. As they make their way into Ascari, what we're going to be careful though of is Steve F1 is heading into the Parabolica for the final time. There he is. So Steve F1 is going to take victory here at Monza. Maximum points for him and maximum devastation to his rivals. He's pulled one out of their bag and it wasn't a rabbit. Tyler's going to come across the line in second place. A great result for him ahead of SGP in third. Demon R somehow managed to get to fourth place, and I don't think he would have expected to be any higher. Mental pack racing at the back. Oh, a bit of carnage though.
Mental.
I think Bunsel.
Yeah, it's like Bunsel's coming late there and took out about 3 or 4 cars there.
Yeah, he does.
Unfortunate.
SRI, he's going to cross the line in fifth place, and Bunsel's going to cross the line in sixth. Is he? Yes, he is, ahead of Rich Blues, Dave the Harp, Jason, Fluffy, Twilight, and Connor. I think as well. I think Hay's not got to the end of the race, unfortunately. I'm hearing his car broke down a few laps ago, being an alpha. That can always happen. But yeah, it looks like at the end there, Bunsel's gone into the corner a bit too hot and ended up tagging one car that's ended up wiping out another 3. So yeah, that could be a little bit of a question to the stewards on that one. For the rest of the race though, that's absolutely mental.
Yeah, saw some great racing, some great side-by-side action earlier on, and towards the latter stages, some really good close racing.
Yeah, definitely was. On the screen, hopefully we'll be able to show some of the drivers' post-race comments. I've got to say though, I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting the VWs to appear to be as strong as they are. What I will say is I know some people have been saying that the VWs turned out to be the best car. What I can say is it isn't. The Subaru is definitely the best car. It's just unfortunate at the moment that everybody in the Subaru either hasn't been able to get the practice in or has had to miss races or stuff like that. So I mean, you look at SRI, the pace that he's been able to show in the races that he's done, he got unfortunate in this one, but it shows that the Subaru is more than capable of battling those VWs and beating them, to be fair. It's just that the guys that happen to be in the VWs, Tyler, Steve F1, SGP, are 3 guys that tend to put a bit of practice in, and they've worked out how to drive that car. So yeah, I can imagine it's going to have been a bit frustrating for a few of their drivers, but at the end of the day I think everyone would have wanted to be in a Subaru.
Yeah, I'm sure they would, especially Dave the Arp. I think Dave the Arp's one of them.
Yeah. Let's see, Dave the Arp, Fluffy, SGP, Demon R, everyone, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've got to say though, it does make for very interesting racing, and well, I was going to say it makes it interesting going from track to track, but I thought the VWs would struggle at Suzuka, and they didn't. They were strong. I thought the VWs would struggle here at Monza. Now, interestingly, they did. They struggled like mad through the corners, but the car's so strong on the straights, it kind of balanced it out enough. The next track, I have no idea what to expect from that track, because it's Brands Hatch, and it's the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. Now, what I will say is, if you're in a Toyota and you dip a wheel on the grass, you're crashing. If you're in an Alfa Romeo and you dip a wheel on the grass, you might crash. If you're in a Subaru or a VW, you ain't going to crash. The car's just going to keep on going for you. So yeah, we could see a lot of carnage at that track, simply because if you dip a wheel, you can end up a long way off the track.
Do you say it's the short one? Or
no, it's the long. It's the full version.
The long one.
Yeah, the Grand Prix version.
Yeah, I know a certain driver who likes it, Steve.
Yeah, Steve F1 does like that track, which is why I know that Tyler and SGP have been putting in a lot of practice, because they can't really afford. I mean, at the moment, it would appear that they've got the best opportunity of fighting Steve F1, who is currently leading the championship before this race, extended his lead after this race. I don't think they can afford to let him go and win another one, because he's going to end up with too big of a lead to be able to fight against. So I think in a way Tyler and SGP may need to up their game, or Steve F1 could be en route for his second championship title.
Yeah, I think they need to up the game, and also just maybe strategy wise get that absolutely down to a T.
Yeah, well, I mean, the interesting thing is, I mean, looking at the strategy that Steve F1 used here today, normally on paper that would not be the strategy to use. It wouldn't be the quicker one. Doing kind of what SGP did would be the quicker one. Like I said, with a 7-minute undercut, he should have been 20 seconds up the road. He should have been so far ahead, but it didn't turn out that way. So in that situation, it's not worked for SGP. It's Tyler's kind of got away with it because he came out just ahead of SGP. But for Steve F1, he saw what happened with the others and went, right, I'm going to keep going, and then split that last 20 minutes into 2 much shorter stops, and that's what's worked for him. I don't know. I would doubt very much that was the way it was planned, but if it was, then fair play to him, because to be honest, in a normal situation, that strategy against SGP and Tyler's strategy wouldn't work, because by the time Steve F1 would have made his first pit stop, the others would have been right up behind him, so he would have then been 20 seconds behind, and so I've got to say fair play to him on that one.
Definitely.
I was going to mention as well, obviously during that race we did have a bit of an issue with Jason's car, where SRI and Hay couldn't see him and Jason couldn't see SRI. Bit of a tricky situation, which has resulted in the admins having a bit of a chat about what to do if that situation occurs again. Now, as the race was going on, the admins while racing were trying to find out how bad the problem was, and to be honest, once it got about 10 minutes into the race, probably too late to try and stop and restart things. So basically what I think they've decided to do is, if it happens again that one of the cars on track is invisible to anybody, it's an instant restart. It doesn't matter if it's noticed 5 minutes in or 20 minutes in. It's an instant restart. Now, if it's a long way into the race, I don't know whether they'd look at restarting and doing a 20-minute race or whatever. I don't know about that. But the sooner it can be spotted and notified. So, for example, I mean, one of the ways I know that they want to have a look, see if this is possible. For example, for this race here, there was 13 out of 16 drivers in the lobby. However, let's say, for example, on Jason's screen in the top left corner, if instead of it showing him being in P6 of 13, it said P6 of 11, that would have been the signal for him to go, I can't see 2 cars. And stop and actually write the message and say, I can't see 2 cars. Right? Then race gets instantly restarted. Also, there would be 2 cars that, looking in their top left corner, would say, for example, P7 of 12, because they can't see 1 car. So in a way, it's going to be down to the drivers to really help the admins out, and the sooner it can be spotted that there's an invisible car, the sooner a restart can be called, and the less hassle it becomes, obviously. It is a scenario that I think we've experienced once before, and I can't remember exactly what happened on that occasion, but on this occasion, it took, unfortunately, a bit too long to really work out how bad the problem was, which is nothing against the admins. It wasn't their fault. They were doing their best to try and find out, but that's the thing. Sometimes when a situation like that occurs, which is very different, if the admins are trying to sort of ask questions and find out exactly what the situation is, that's where really all the other drivers need to sort of button it up, unless they have valid information, because it just extends the time it takes to sort that kind of issue. So I know, for example, SRI for quite some time was trying to get the information of how many people can't see Jason, and if he'd have been able to get that information straight away, he may have been able to instantly go, right, let's restart. But because that information didn't come to him, he couldn't make that decision.
Yeah, it's a tough one. Everyone just needs to obviously be aware of that going forward, and hopefully it doesn't happen again. But if it does, then you've got something in place. Like you say, sometimes these things arise and you don't know if it's going to be a lag issue, or a game issue.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the other way to notice it as well is when the cars are forming up on the grid. If you can see that there's people missing, you can tell then straight away. But obviously sometimes it's something that needs to be highlighted and then brought to people's attention, and then it's easier to deal with. But I do know, I'm pretty sure going forward, if it does happen again, it literally is an instant stoppage and a restart, get that person connected properly, because I think it's something to do with synchronization rather than lag or anything like that. It could be like, it's possible that Jason may have entered the lobby as a setting was being changed, or he may have been spectating as it was sent through to qualifying. It could have been a number of those, anything like that, rather than just a lag issue. So, but anyway, we'll see how. Go on.
And they're just going to discuss like what the cut-off period is, whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes. There
is no cut-off period.
Oh right, okay. So
that's what. If it's 35 minutes, I mean, okay, if it's 35 minutes, you could probably say, you know what, keep going at that point. But this is why it's important for the drivers, if they have an invisibility, to bring it to the attention immediately, because the sooner it can, because this is the thing, it can be spotted before the start of the race on the grid, or on the top, hopefully on the top left, where it shows you what position of how many cars you're in. That is still to be checked, but yeah, when the grid's forming up, for example, Jason would have had 2 empty spots on his grid, and on his timing screen leading into the start of the race, it would have had 2 cars missing. So it's basically, the more aware that drivers can be at that point, then literally as a race is about to get going, someone can press pause, type in the chat, I can't see so and so, and then it takes up no time at all. But if it is 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, then yeah, as soon as it becomes aware, it's an instant stoppage. Now they may look into that further, but the idea is that it gets spotted within the first couple of minutes, and then it saves all the hassle.
Would the in the qualifying, would it have been picked up in the qualifying, or probably not?
Probably not. Now, it's something that was sort of talked about with SRI and myself, because at the end of qualifying, SRI did say that on his screen it was showing that Jason was a DNF in qualifying. Now, I said on my screen that I'm pretty sure he was sat in the pits because he'd abandoned his second lap. Now, I could have been wrong, but they are going to sort of keep an eye on whether Jason's showing as a DNF rather than having set a lap time, because I'm pretty sure Jason he didn't start at the back, which if he was a DNF, he would have started at the back, if you know what I mean. So he must, if he hadn't set a lap time, he'd start at the back, but if he did set a lap time, it'd have started further up the grid and it shouldn't have shown as a DNF. So that may also be an early signal. So there is the potential of 2 or 3 things. Now, if you're on about, like, say SRI or Hay were driving round and couldn't see Jason, it may have happened in qualifying. The problem is they wouldn't have known that they couldn't see him because they couldn't see him. Unless them 2 drivers were together, or they had some sort of collision, couldn't turn in, and Jason was there, but it's never going to happen. Is it? Or if there was a car behind them that was saying, "Oh, you've just drove through Jason," or something like that. But they're the kind of things that if someone does see that and goes, "Oh, you've just driven through Jason," and then that person goes, "I can't see Jason." Right, okay, stop, let's restart. Now, what I will say is, yes, it's down to the drivers to let the admins know that there's someone invisible on the track, but it is always down to the admins to say restart. So if you quit and they don't restart, Don't blame them. You have to wait for the admins to say restart. That's when you go, okay. It's just I have to say that, otherwise I'll get into trouble. Right, okay, I think it's about time we sort of closing the show here. I do know there have been a few reports made on this race. I'm not going to go through all of those incidents because there are a few. What I will say is when the incidents are posted up on the DGT Facebook page, the information will be there. However, one of the things I will mention as well is that heading into this season there were a few rule changes, and one of the changes was to the penalty amounts and things that were given, and it was set up in a way that would make stewards' reports much shorter. So rather than going through exact detailed information, the stewards could basically put it in as fewer words as possible, and drivers will be aware. Now, what I will say is, if somebody has placed a report and on the steward's report it doesn't go into great detail, that doesn't mean that it hasn't been looked at in great detail. It just means that when it comes to the writing up part of it, they've put it in a nice, simple, easy to understand format, and if people want further information, all they have to do is ask, because whoever has looked into the incidents will have no problem in explaining why a decision has gone one way or another. So I can give you that guarantee. Even if the reports are written short, it has been looked into in its entirety.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, I thought so. I thought I'd explain that as well in case someone, because it's possible that someone may place a report thinking that someone's done something, but if it just says no further action, they weren't at fault, then that person may feel aggrieved because they haven't been given a full explanation of it. But it's simply just to make life a lot easier for everybody, really. But yeah, anyway, right, I think it's time then to have a look at how that race has affected things. So Gary, thank you very much for joining me on commentary.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, enjoyed it once again. Thanks for the invite.
You're very welcome. And yeah, next up, Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit. So yeah, let's see how that's going to go. Okay, let's take a look at the confirmed race result and the championship standings. Here we go then with confirmation of the race result, and Steve F1 taking the victory and the maximum 20 points. Tyler finishing second, so good points haul for him, 17 going into his boot. SGP finished in third, so it's 15 points for him. Demon R 4th ahead of SRI in 5th. Bunsell did cross the line in 6th, however he has picked up a number of penalties for a few incidents within the race, and I did say I'm not going to go through all the incidents on here, they're on the Facebook page. Rich Blues finished in 7th place ahead of Dave the Harp in 8th, Jason 9th and Fluffy in 10th. Those four were drivers that were affected in that final corner collision. Also Fluffy does have a -2 point penalty. I think it's for an unfair overtake. Twilight finished in 11th place, he won't be happy with that, with Connor in 12th, and he too won't be happy with that. And as I mentioned, Hay did end up with a DNF. A bit of a bad day for Hay, that one, but onwards and upwards, or at least forwards, I think that should be, unless you're Jason and you're going to send SRI upwards. Right, let's take a look at what that result has done to the championship standings. So Steve F1 extends his lead at the top of the standings to 10 points, so he's now on 55, with SGP in second place on 45 points, and Tyler only one behind SGP now on 44 points. In fourth place we've got Demon R on 39 points, and then, oh my goodness me, SRI is in fifth on 28 points. Imagine where he'd be if he hadn't missed that first race. Oh. Sixth place, Mitch drops down yet to 6th on 23 points with him not being able to race today, which is a shame. Dave the Harp, he's sharing 7th place with Rich Blues at the moment, both on 21 points. While formerly Gary, who was unable to race, drops down to 9th on 17 points. Jason sits in 10th on 16 points. He's one ahead of Conrad, who's in 11th, who's one ahead of Twilight, who's in 12th. Fluffy Planet sits in 13th place on 12 points, and Hay is in 14th on 9 points. Jimmy is on 15th place, not on, he's in 15th place on 7 points, and Bunsell came into this race on 2 points, scored 10, goes away with only 1 point. unfortunately penalties will do that to you sometimes, so a day to forget for Bunsell, or at least a day to remember to not do it again. Okay, as I mentioned, next race is from the Brands Hatch Grand Prix circuit, so make sure you come and join us for the action there, because it could be an interesting one, that is for certain. Anyway, thanks for watching, and yeah, we'll see you all again soon.